Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's LGBTQ Voice. My name is Tracy Welch.
Eileen Dugas. Hi everyone.
Hey, yeah, Eileen's back tonight. I'm so glad she's here. I think I have more fun with you here, which is amazing. We laughed before the show, we'll laugh during the show, and we probably laughed after the show. But we have two special guests with us tonight. We have Colton McGrath and we have John Mass on. So Colton was, if you guys didn't know, was on American Idol as a local youth, and Eileen's actually going to talk to Colton tonight and ask him some questions.
I sure am. So Colton is going to share his personal experience, his experience with being on Idol, and about how he got involved with music. So, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Colton. I just graduated from Durfee High School, so I'm kind of in the area. But yeah, I'm 18. Idol was a great time, but I'm glad to be doing other things afterwards too. It's kind of just like a jump start to everything. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stepping stone.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with your personal experience.
Sure.
Okay. So, how old were you when you began to discover that you were transgender?
I was about 13.
13.
Yes.
And do you want to talk a little bit about what that felt like and what that experience was like for you? What were the first signs for you?
Honestly, like I've never really been the kind of kid to like conform to really anything. So for me, it wasn't really a sense of like a gender experience. It was just more of like a, well, this isn't right. Yeah, I wasn't really educated much on anything transgender growing up, anything LGBT to be honest. I did have a childhood friend that is now male to female transgender. And so through that, I was kind of like, well, obviously that's not me, but through like becoming more educated via the internet and, you know, YouTube, it was, it kind of like opened up the whole door for every answer, you know. It was one of those things where you look on Wikipedia, they know the definition of transgender, and I'm just like, yep.
You're like, that's me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bingo. So the internet was your first resource of
Absolutely.
Who am I? What am I experiencing?
Oh yeah,
that was
absolutely.
Okay. So, do you have any childhood memories or experiences that stick out for you? Like.
Oh gosh, I was definitely. I know for a fact that a lot of people were very shocked when I came out because, you know, being a musician and being in the industry, you know, I had to present myself in a certain way for events and different things that I would do. So I was very feminine. Like before I came out, which I think for people who maybe aren't educated as much were like, whoa, what happened? But yeah, I think in terms of a childhood memory, I remember being, oh God, I think more intensely. I was 14, that was the first time I ever quote unquote cross-dressed. I was with a friend and basically I was just like, you know what, whatever, I'm gonna try this, because we were watching YouTube, or watching YouTubers or whatever, certain people that were like talking about trans crap, and I was like, okay, why don't I just try this? No one's judging me, right? But yeah, that kind of escalated into like later on, just, you know, back when I, you know, when I had a lot of hair, I would just like tuck it back in a beanie. I would wear super baggy clothes, and that was just kind of how that kind of unfolded. But,
So what about your haircut? What was it like when you actually said, you know what, I can and I will, and I did? Well, what was that feeling?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy because I had thought about it for so long. And the thing is though, like I didn't actually come out until I was like 16, 17. Publicly on the internet 17, but to my friends I was 16. But yeah, so honestly it was just kind of like, well, my hair is crazy, man. I had a whole afro, it was a whole thing. So honestly, it was both a sense of, wow, I'm gonna feel so much lighter, and also like, yeah.
And cold in the winter.
Hey, that's okay, you know? But yeah, it was definitely liberating. It was the best thing I've ever done, I think.
Get rid of that hair.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
So, do you remember who you told first?
The first person I ever came out to, oh God. Yeah, it was actually the day that I did that whole cross-dressing thing, and it was my an old childhood friend of mine, Brittany, that I had done that with, and then my grandmother's old friend, and it was, you know what I mean, it was weird. I felt as though like, I don't know how my family's going to react, so I'll just tell the other people outside of my family first and see what happens.
Go out to in?
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, honestly, I think my parents knew from a young age that I was either going to be a lesbian or that something else was going to happen. I don't know what exactly was going through their minds, but yeah, my mom wasn't too shocked, I don't think.
I don't know, where are your mom? No, Mom's here.
Yeah, you know.
Do you think that your mom felt like you were trying to conform to the standard of being female?
I honestly don't know. I think I definitely thought that I was trying very hard because I don't know. I was very uneducated, like I said, in terms of like even with me trying to self-educate via the internet, I was still very uneducated because obviously you don't can't really be 100% educated on trans unless you're trans, and it's the thing you just and I was questioning that back and forth. I think I questioned different levels of my gender for probably 3-4 years. But yeah, it wasn't until I was 16 that I was that one of my best friends of over a decade literally just came up to me and she was like, "So like, just tell me that you're a guy and we can get on with life."
Sometimes it's that easy.
And I was like, "Okay." So yeah, but
yes.
yeah, but it wasn't until like somebody actually like kind of forced me to like say it out loud that I actually like believed it. I guess I don't know. Because I never really grew up with that sense of like conformed gender, so it really wasn't, it was more of like a decision on myself, as a musician, as somebody who was female, makeup was more of an art. I love makeup, I love body painting, so to me it was more of an art form thing. So I didn't really look at it as a whole feminized thing until it became a lot of what I was trying to hide. So, that was, but yeah, I honestly don't know how I felt. I can't really speak for her, but I can say that a lot of people probably thought that, after seeing this transition unfold, that it was probably like, yeah, you were trying real hard. Good for you, but,
We did a show on coming out a couple months ago, and the first person I ever told was my little brother. And he said, "Oh, this is great, we can both be looking for chicks together." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Donnie." So, I mean, I'm glad that you had somebody to kind of come out and your transition was easy, or I won't say it was easy.
I can honestly say I probably had it easier than most people in my situation, so I'm really fortunate for that. But also kind of, there was a sense of like not really giving a crap after a while because it's. I guess if I wasn't a musician, it would have been a lot harder, and that in some way that may not make sense, but like for me it was just kind of like, all right, well, I kind of have to change my name on social media at some point because that's how I do my job, So I did like a very small transition. At first it was like, I would shorten my birth name and I would make that and I put like they as like the pronouns on Facebook and then people got really confused. So I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna change it completely so there's no more questions.
So how did you come up with the name Colton?
It's kind of weird, but like, and this is, swear to God, literally for about 4 years, like this name just kept popping up in my life. And I had no idea how. I was just like, all right. Like, whether it just be like, I don't know. Like, I would just, I'm trying to think. Yeah, it came in, like, I'm not going to say it came in a dream, because Christ. But,
You never know.
no, it just would, like, randomly pop up in my head, and I would just be like, that's weird. Like, at first I was like, okay, odd. And I just, like, pressed it aside. But yeah, I don't know. It just kind of resonated with me, I guess.
So let's talk about that process of transitioning in school.
Sure.
So what was middle school like?
Middle school, I didn't even really know what I was doing. I was just a queer little nugget. But yeah.
So middle school really wasn't an issue for you?
I mean, bullying was a thing, but I honestly don't think people bullied me until the very end of middle school because I was, queer or whatever the hell I was. I honestly was just I was just a really nice person, and I was kind of a little outcast, It's whatever. But yeah, I don't know. That wasn't really the case. I told one person I was bisexual when I was like in, 8th grade, and then I had a bunch of people like, "Oh my God, you're gay," and now they're like, "Oh, makes sense."
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah, no, seriously, but I mean, yeah, people go through stuff. We all go through the same thing. Anybody who's queer, middle school's never been great,
So what happened in high school?
I went to Bishop Connolly my first 2 years. I was very open. I mean, it's a Catholic school. Clearly I was just like...
John's eyes just rolled. I apologize.
It's a
John
Catholic
is the
school.
director. I didn't say it earlier.
Catholic school.
John, I'm sorry. John is the director of school-based counseling at the community counseling of Bristol County. So
Yeah.
I'm
Thanks,
going to make sure we said that.
No, yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't say the fact that I was, at the time as a female, as identifying as gay. So, I don't really think that was a major issue. I'm sure people looked at me like, what? Like, you know, but I don't really think that was a major issue. I was pretty open about my stuff, and I don't know, I bring humor into everything, so like, I think people liked me because I made fun of myself, but that's okay. I'm so good at it.
So then you transitioned schools.
I did.
So what made you transition to another school?
My mom works at the school. It was closer. I didn't really have many like close friends at the other school. I just didn't really feel comfortable. I'm a really open-minded person, so I was like, I'll try anything, whatever. But you know, it just kind of spiraled into a, I also struggled with like mental health too. So it was just one of those things where I was like, I'm just gonna go in like a bigger environment where there's probably more people like me. It's just a safer option. Right? It's free. So, so yeah. But I didn't actually like, transition schools. I didn't transition genders until my senior year. So my first year at that other school, basically, at the end of my junior year of high school, I told my friend Grace, who currently is my coworker, but she basically, I was just like, hey, so I'm a guy, and she was like, okay, I dig it. That was the end of the conversation, like literally, and then it just kind of spiraled into like, more people started finding out, and I don't really care or know how that happened, but whatever. Because it helped me. So, Derby is such a huge school. Like literally, the LGBTQ population is extreme. So literally, it was just kind of like, oh, you're trans? Welcome. Like it was like
one more, table 6.
Seriously, like, oh great, there's more of you. No, I'm joking, but yeah, I mean, it was a really open and accepting place, so there wasn't a problem with it at all. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you felt that you had support at school, and now you had support at home.
Oh, totally.
So you had both, which is amazing because many kids don't have
And you
that.
said earlier offline that there's a GSA at the school. But
there is, yeah. But there's also like, there's a GSA specifically for, on gender and sexuality related issues, but there's also like, there's different teachers. I know one, my old English teacher, Kurt Ostro, he had this thing called, he has this class called Freedom Writers, right? So afterwards he'd have the club, the Freedom Writers. But it was like, it was originally just supposed to be like a social action kind of like what's going on in the world kind of thing, and it turned into like a venting place for all these like queer kids because just so many of them just like joined. Yeah. But it was an awesome thing. So yeah.
Cool. It's funny how things evolve. It starts off one thing and you just never know where it's going to go.
No, there was honestly so many like LGBT like inclusive clubs and different things there. I mean, it's a huge school. You got a lot of kids like that. Not all of them are going to be able to do certain things and they feel comfortable with certain people, so why not?
Excellent. So let's talk about your music.
Let's do that.
All right. So music. When did you start singing?
I think I was like 4 when I started singing. I think my first ever performance was a miraculous rendition of The Little Mermaid. It's killing it.
Oh, we should have put that up. Oh, Mom, you have the video?
No, I don't do it. She's like, no,
that'd be funny.
I think there's like one picture on Facebook. Yeah. It was a good time.
So when did you realize you were good at singing?
Honestly, I've never really been the kind of person that's like, oh, I'm good at singing. I've always been like, well, it's my passion, so I'm trying my best, and I get paid for it now, so that's always nice. But like, I don't know, I'm honestly not the first person to be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just like, you know what? There's always things that I could do better. I'd like to strive for challenges, and being on hormones and being a musician is going to be one of those. So I mean, not a challenge, but.
So during the video break we have coming up. So you're on hormones?
I'm not.
You're not?
No.
Do you think you would be?
Yes.
Yeah.
Soon.
Well, we have one of our youth at MB Agri that is, and every month I ask him for an update. Because like 1 week he came and his voice dropped. I'm like, is he sick? Is he sick? Is it, And so I asked him, he goes, nope, that's my new voice. I'm like, okay.
Awesome.
So each month he gives us an update where he's at to our kids.
Yeah, I've always had a very naturally deep voice. So honestly, like as for right now, it's just kind of like, when it happens, it happens. Hopefully soon, just because of college and whatnot. But yeah, not too bothered by it.
All right, so why don't we take a listen and watch your video.
Let's do it.
Empty Skies.
Yep. AJ? Thanks.
the room and all I can see are beautiful eyes. I'm mesmerized, yeah, I'm captivated. I tried to ignore, but you looked my way and I couldn't hide. I said hello, you moved in close, I was breathing heavy. Nothing to do, staring at you, why are my palms sweating? You walked away with nothing to say, but I knew for sure. Girl, you are my ecstasy. I take you, can't feel anything. You're a blue moon on a damn good night. You're a single star to my empty sky. The reason why I can't stop thinking about the shape of your lips, electric kiss. Why is my mind doing this? And in the midst of all of this, oh, I'll admit that I know that girl, you are my ecstasy. I take you and can't feel anything. You're a blue moon on a damn good night. You're a single star to my empty sky. Single star to my empty skies.
So that was Empty Skies, and Colton actually wrote that song as well. So can you tell us a little bit about what that song means to you and the inspiration for writing that song?
Right, so basically it's about wanting someone so bad that you can't, but you can't have them. So you basically, it's like a drug, you know, you want it, but you can't have it. I don't know. It was more so just a metaphor that I built off of, and I was like, oh, I like that, and it's kind of kept writing. Yeah, honestly, I think the inspiration behind that, I usually write from experience, but this one time I was just kind of like, you know what? I'm going to try just putting myself in somebody else's shoes here, because I've never really felt like that, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of like, you know what? Why don't I just try it? And I really just dove wicked deep into that, so, and henceforth the song, but
awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
How long did it take you to write that?
I think I wrote it during, I'm going to say I wrote that during a class.
Is that amazing?
Well then.
I wrote that during the period of like a couple classes, but in probably the course of a day, I think. But it was just, I was so dead set on that, I think, that I was just, yeah.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thanks. And how long did it take to make the video?
Oh, not too long. We got things done pretty quickly. Minus Grace's takes, I wasn't there for that, so. But I'm gonna say a couple days maybe, just different locations, a couple days. Really wasn't bad, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's a good time.
So what do we get? What are
All
people
right,
saying?
let's see. So, hi Maureen, hi Jamie, Amanda Tavares, hi Amanda, and Bob Young are saying hello to us. So hello everyone, thanks for watching.
Cool beans. So you guys know that if you need to get a hold of myself or Eileen, you can get us on Facebook, on our Facebook pages. But we are I'm Tracy with an I, Traci at sclgbtqnetwork.org.
Eileen, EILEEN at sclgbtqnetwork.org, or you can call my cell 774-775-2656.
Cool beans. So one of the things we asked you guys is, I don't know how many shows this is now, we lost count. But we need ad money, commercial space on the show. So you can hit Leo at newbedfordguide.com. Again, Leo at newbedfordguide.com. So we want to keep these kind of shows going. Each week we talk about different things, and today's issues are teen issues. So we asked Colton, actually Colton and I have been trying to get together for a while now. Yeah. He's been really busy in the community and what's going on with his career, and he was able to fit this in for us tonight. So I know Eileen had a couple more questions.
I do.
Please.
Let's talk about Idol. Everyone wants to hear about Idol.
Sure.
So, what made you decide to audition for Idol?
I've auditioned for other reality TV shows in the past, The Voice, America's Got Talent. It's never gotten to the actual filmed portion, but I don't know, it's something that I've always liked to experience. I'm gonna admit it's not 100% my scene.
What about Big Brother? You never know.
So, when you say it's not your scene, what do you mean?
I don't know, even though I'm a musician, I'm not the type of person to put myself in the spotlight. I like what I do and I like sharing it with other people. My only goal as a musician really is that people get something out of my music. It's up for interpretation, but I'm not really 100% concerned in, being this household name, this person that's selling out concerts or whatever. I just enjoy what I do. I'm okay going wherever I go with it as long as I'm happy with it. So yeah, basically being on camera 24/7 wasn't really something I'm used to.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I mean, it might have been fun for a minute, but I don't know how long I would like to be on camera.
It was honestly a good time, because the best thing about it is the people that you meet. So definitely, that's what kind of kept it, that's what kept me sane.
And are you still friends with some of the kids you met?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm supposed to be doing a gig with one of my friends on Idol in August. We're still trying to piece that together, but yeah, so my friend Derek Walkney, his band is just called Walkney, but great guy. I have a couple of my friends that are in Boston, also auditioned and made it onto the show with me, so that was kind of cool having little homebodies.
Oh, cool.
Little homebodies there, but I met some awesome people. I still connect with most of them, so that's, yeah.
So you auditioned in Boston originally? Is that where you auditioned?
The behind the scenes, non-televised, I originally auditioned in Boston, but from a viewer perspective, my first audition was in New York. So yeah.
What did you sing for your first audition?
In front of the judges, I sang Love on the Brain by Rihanna, but I did a more alternative version of it. That was kind of my thing throughout the entire show. I would make different songs, different genres, and
So off screen, we were talking out back, we kept looking week after week to see, because we knew that, because all the news said, transgender kid from, Durfee High School is going to be on. We're like, where is he? 'Cause our kids were kind of looking too. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? I'm like, oh, not this week, maybe next week.
Oh, I know. I was doing the same thing, honestly. I knew just about as much as everybody else watching.
Yeah, well, there's so many people that audition for that show.
Oh, it's crazy. I honestly just kind of pick and choose who they are, and it's nothing against us. It's just airtime and certain things, and I'm not the one editing it, so what do I say, But yeah, honestly, it's fine, that wasn't really my main concern, I think other people were more concerned for me. They were like, oh my god, you haven't been aired, and I'm just like, I saw myself once, I'm fine.
He can't tell us anything, he must have got kicked off, we don't know anything.
No, honestly, it was a great experience, so honestly, it's all good.
Take us through a typical day, like the day that you auditioned in front of the judges. What did that look like? Was that a crazy day?
It looked like, I don't even remember how many hours I was there. Oh, my mom is
Mom knows.
We got there at 7 and you got into your audition at midnight.
Wow.
There you
7
go.
a.m. you mean?
7 a.m.
Thank you, I want to make
And
sure.
you were sick.
I was sick, yeah. I was very sick, and towards the end of my Idol experience, I actually did 2 different rounds with laryngitis, so that was cool. Definitely the most challenging thing I've ever done as a vocalist, but yeah, basically the original audition process itself was really challenging, but it was fun. You can't really take. I mean, yes, I was sick, and I was like, oh my god, help! But but other than that, it was more so just you meet awesome people. It's a really cool experience. Ryan Seacrest is a really nice guy.
Do you have your selfies with him?
My mom does. He actually loved my mom. He was like, where's Pauline? For 5 minutes. I was like, all right. No, but honestly, yeah, I think the most genuine thing about the entire competition, because, a lot of it is social media and filming, and it doesn't really seem very, real after a while, And actually, when I left, it just kind of felt like one continuous day, which was weird. But, yeah, honestly, the judges were the most genuine people I've ever met. Like, honest to God. Like, when, well, you can't see it because it didn't air, but when I first walked in, when I first walked into my audition, you know, like Brian, like, kind of like stood up to go like shake my hand, but like he didn't get to because they were directing me. They were like, go to the X. I was like, oh, okay. Like, what do I feel so unworthy, you know? Like, but there's such good people, you know, and you have like this perception of like celebrities and whatever, that they're like on this hierarchy, and then you see him and you're like, she's like eating snacks at her judge panel, and I'm just like, this is me, but like in heels, and like she doesn't look sweaty. That was the difference between me and her.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, genuine, so awesome. Oh yeah.
So it was an amazing experience.
Oh,
You got to meet
absolutely.
amazing people.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So let's talk about gender identity. How much do they want to talk about that?
A lot. Some of them I don't think I've ever met a trans person, and like they weren't really sure what to ask, and I was just like, ask me anything. I really don't care. I'm on national television anyways. But yeah, they wanted to know a lot about, like, you know, what it was like to be trans, and you know, just again, I don't think a lot of them are very like educated, which is fine, you know. But like it was just very basic questions over and over and over again.
Did you tell them Wikipedia?
Honestly, I had the right mind. I would have just been like,
Like, wait, there's more.
right? No, seriously, no. But it was honestly really cool. It was really cool. I think the contestants themselves as friends had more questions for me. Like they were on. It was so cool. There was a couple people in particular that, including Michelle Sassette, who was on the show for a while. I remember the first thing she ever said to me. She came up to me and she was like, because it was me and Ada Vox, who's, if you don't know, she's a drag queen.
Yep.
And basically they were sitting next to each other. She looks at Ada. She goes, "Are you also trans?" And we had like this whole conversation. And this poor girl was just so confused. But no, it was funny. I'm not gonna lie.
Of course.
I don't know. I was like, I thought you thought I was a drag queen. That would have been really funny. I can't rock those heels.
Well, after the show, I'll show you my drag queen picture.
Yes!
Definitely.
Oh my god, let's
Yeah.
do that. Oh my god.
So
I should just create one of my own.
Yeah, so about 7:30, we're going to talk about the other stuff.
Okay.
We'll wrap up.
So let me see. So if you could share or encourage
Yeah.
teens, young adults to follow their dreams, what would you tell them? How would you?
I would say like life's short. You know, you never know what's gonna happen. You know, did I expect to get that far in Idol? Hell no. I was just kind of there for the ride, and like whatever happened. You know, stuff just kind of happens, and you should just take a hold of it, whether it be like with, you know, gender or like career, whatever the hell. Like, you know, just do it, because you're gonna regret it later if you don't. So yeah.
You know,
I don't
no regrets. I will say I have fun of my day and pride of my day. The rest is what it is.
Well,
You know?
actually, I got a tattoo. I was gonna get it in LA, but I called the place and they were like, "We have like a $800 minimum," and I was like, "No."
I got 8 cents.
I was like, "No, thank you." But yeah, I got this after I went to LA, and it was Carpe Diem. Originally, for me, it was like Dead Poet Society, but honestly, it was just like it was just a little fitting quote. It's like how that whole thing went, because honestly, like it opened up my eyes to so much. Like, I don't know. It's funny because like you have as busy as it is, you have a lot of time to think while you're there, because you're like in between takes, you're sitting there for hours, and you're just like, what do I do? But yeah, honestly, like as weird as this might sound, like it literally made me think about like my sexuality and like everything that I should be doing in my life, and I'm not. And I was just like, well, going home, might as well. Grabbed a milkshake, went to the airport, and I was like, all right, I'm ready. But
So don't forget, at the end of the show, we usually kind of do a roundabout table, but where are you playing and what's going on for you right now?
Right now I'm playing throughout, most of Massachusetts, parts of Rhode Island. I'm just gonna say New England as a whole. But yeah, honestly, it's been a nice little ride. Paying for college, which is nice.
Yeah. You can find you on Facebook.
Yes, you can. Colton McGrath Music. Yeah, that's Instagram as well. The Twitter's a bit different. I think it's, what is it, CPJ McGrath? I never remember. I always think it's the same
This is
handle.
what we do.
I always think it's the same handle, and then people go to look it up and they can't find it, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, it says, your sign says Tracy, my sign says, oh crap.
There you go. Right. At least you have that, you know.
You need it. There's just so much.
I should just carry one around with me.
well, our business cards that we joke about, we have NB Adley cards, and we have the network cards, and we have new ones because we have the voice on the back that we're trying to put on, the LGBTQ Voice. We want you to stay because we want to interject because John's going to talk about what's going on in the school systems.
Do we want to show that video first?
You want to show the video first?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I am.
I would love to. So we're going to show you guys a video, even though today's show is on teen issues. When we talk on our show, if we could start and help kids when they're earlier, maybe we wouldn't need our youth group, maybe we wouldn't need Pride Cafe and certain things in our community. So we're going to start with this video of our trans youth from Jersey. Please.
Scary transgender person the media warned you about. I'm Rebecca.
My name is Jamie Briesehoff, and I am married. We have 3 children. They are 10, 8, and almost 3 years old. So I write a blog called I Am Totally That Mom. In the past few years, my blog has really become more focused on our journey with a transgender child. So Rebecca has always been gender nonconforming. As young as 2 or 3, she gravitated to typically feminine things. She loved pink and sparkles and all things girly, and that was fine with us.
This is a soft blanket that I have, and it says Benjamin on it, so we put it with my Benjamin box.
As her gender nonconformity intensified, we started to notice some distress around things like being grouped with boys at school or in activities. So by the time she was 7, all of this kind of hit a crisis point, and her anxiety was crippling, and her depression was becoming life-threatening, and we were at a loss.
There's a picture of me. I don't look so happy.
We were faced with a 7-year-old kid who wanted to die. One time she punched out the screen in her second-story window and tried to jump out.
The hardest part of all this was when I didn't transition and I was not happy and it didn't feel right.
So we sought the support of a gender specialist. And so through conversations there, Rebecca came to tell us, no, this is definitely me. I'm a girl. I'm a girl in my head and my heart.
I felt like I was a girl because I liked the color pink and I liked girls' clothes and how they wore their hair and stuff.
At the time, it was the happiest I'd ever seen her, frolicking through the girls section of the clothing store, picking out clothes and seeing what she liked. She was just a different kid. It was like a cloud lifted.
It feels good to have like a sister instead of a brother.
Hey guys, we had to cut that a little bit short. Every now and then we have a glitch that says they'll shut us off. I don't know what it is yet. We were still working on that. But that's a story of a young boy that, thank God he had support from his parents. If not, you heard him say that the parents caught him trying to jump out the window at, 7 years old. I actually met a 7-year-old young man identifying as a female in our community, and I swear to God, I thought it was a little girl. I would not have known in a million years that that was a little boy. Because she presents herself, she's happy, she's well adjusted, I guess is a good word, and figuring out her life at 7 years old. So each time that we do these shows, we talk about our Rainbow Club, and it's the 8 to 13 group, and that is found on Wednesdays?
Wednesday, 6:30 to 7:30.
Thank you, 6:30 to 7:30, and that's at 484 Pleasant Street. And our youth group, again, John is representing the school district tonight, but John is one of our adult advisors that we talk about. We always talk about John and David behind the scenes, because you know Eileen and I are 2 of them. John is one of the original firsts of Evan B. Adley. So we're going to kind of do like a vice versa role today. So Eileen's going to talk about what it's like in general for the population of our teens, and I'm going to talk about some of the LGBTQ portions of that.
Okay, so we're going to talk about teens issues in general. The first teen issue we're going to talk about is depression. And there's an estimated 3.1 million adolescents in the U.S. who had at least one major depressive episode in the past year. That's across all teens, adolescents. So I know 20% of teens will experience depression before reaching adulthood. In the LGBTQ community, teenage community, the statistics are a little different. So
Yeah, more than 70% report feeling worthlessness and hopelessness in just this week alone. I know John's going to talk a little bit. We're going to kind of interject and kind of have John kind of talk about what he sees as a therapist. And you want to talk about what you do every day?
Do you want me to do that now?
I'd love to.
Sure, John.
Yeah, we'll start with that, and then we'll kind of go back into our questions. Sorry, John.
So, as Tracy had shared with you earlier, my title is Director of School-Based Counseling. I work at Community Counseling of Bristol County. I'm a licensed independent clinical social worker, and I primarily work with adolescents, and I specialize in working with LGBTQ youth. From my experience, one of the statistics that I use when I talk with schools is, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, over 20% of all youth in general, not just LGBTQ youth, but 20% of all youth have a diagnosable mental illness and could benefit from treatment. Of that number, less than 20% ever get referred for treatment services. So there's a huge number of youth who could benefit from treatment, never even get into treatment. And as Tracy has indicated, that LGBTQ youth are significantly overrepresented in terms of experiencing depression. They're also overrepresented in all different domains as far as compared to non-LGBTQ youth. LGBTQ youth experience more depression, anxiety, they experience more trauma, they have more suicide attempts, more self-harm, they engage in more risky behaviors like substance abuse, cigarette smoking, and that's across the board. And there are ways to think about that, and certainly one of the questions that raises for a lot of people is, are LGBTQ youth inherently less healthy emotionally than non-LGBTQ youth? And what the answer really is that if you think about gender minority stress or minority stress, start with minority stress first. What minority stress refers to, or the minority stress model says, is that members of all minority groups experience significantly more stress than non-minority group individuals. And when you think about what stress does to somebody, physiologically, the body reacts to stress in a whole lot of different ways, and one of the ways is that the body secretes hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. And both of those hormones gear the body up for some kind of bad thing to happen. And so those hormones are very difficult for the body and create a physiological reaction to stress. When you have somebody who is a member of a minority group, and clearly LGBTQ individuals are members of a minority group, they experience stress on a fairly constant, almost daily level. And so what's happening is that the body is secreting these hormones constantly or fairly frequently. And so that, because they're members of a minority group, physiologically their bodies are reacting in a way that's not helpful. But also it's the stress that creates both, in addition to physical problems, emotional problems as well. And it raises sort of this whole feeling of acceptance. LGBTQ youth, or members of the LGBTQ community, clearly historically have not been accepted to the extent that other individuals have. And so You then grow up, if you're a youth growing up, worried about whether or not you're going to be accepted by society in general. And that again creates this ongoing level of stress for youth. And because we as a group tend to be perceived in a negative way by society in general, what happens sometimes is that some youth sort of internalize or take on those negative images and start to dislike themselves or not feel good about themselves. And so, taken all together, it's not surprising that LGBTQ youth clearly experience a lot more depression, a lot more anxiety, a lot more of these sort of negative outcomes than non-LGBTQ youth.
Well, we'll do the vice versa.
So I just want to say that you had mentioned that people don't get treatment that they need, and the statistics that I have here is that only 41% of LGBTQ youth who have received psychological or emotional counseling in the last 12 months. So only 41% of those that need it receive it, and if you look at 77% are reporting that they feel down or depressed. That's a huge number. That's more than it's more than 3/4 of the population, and less than half of that population is getting treatment. So that's huge.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons LGBTQ youth don't necessarily seek treatment is that if they're not out, then they may not be comfortable being out to a therapist.
Right.
They may not know how the therapist will respond if they do choose to come out. And so there's fear that that could be or result in a negative experience.
Or they go to doctors and the mother and father will find out.
Yeah, they'll be outed.
That's the other fear, is that the therapist will out them to their parents. One of the questions, and since I'm a therapist and since I focus so much on therapy, and I know, Colton, you had shared that it's okay to ask you this question.
Yeah, you're good.
You had shared with me earlier that you had been in treatment.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about what that experience was like for you?
Right. So primarily with LGBTQ relations, I had done a group setting therapy. I had done a couple different things. I had tried one locally that was just more of like a stop in, see how it is, and then it was a little bit of a stretch. So I did an actual therapy treatment course. It was a group, and there was a couple of LGBT kids in there. There was another trans person. At the time, I actually ended up coming out through that process, so it was actually really helpful. I mean, individual therapy, group therapy, however, I've done all. But it was definitely very helpful. I don't do it anymore. It's you get to a point where you feel comfortable with yourself, and that's really, I think, the goal with all that. So, but yeah.
Exactly.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So do you feel that whoever you were working with had the knowledge and experience to work with someone who identified as transgender?
I honestly can't say if she was certified or if she wasn't certified in that field. I honestly have no idea, but I do know that there were a lot of queer kids in that room, and that a lot of us ended up starting each day not feeling crappy about ourselves in that regard. So whether it's Tanashi had the actual PhD that said gender studies in front of it, that's one thing, but it just takes respect and acceptance. It's really all it does, it's just talking to another person. I think for us anyways, that's what it takes.
And that was local?
It was in Boston.
Boston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I ask how you found out about the group? Because I think for a lot of youth, it's hard to find
absolutely.
a group or a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, Boston's a bit of a stretch from here. But I mean, there are a lot of local centers. There's a lot of different, and I had to look this up. It did take a lot of searching, if I'm being honest. But through mine, at least, it was through Children's Hospital. So there was through other counseling, I had figured out about that group, but it took a while. It's like you said, it's not an easy thing to find that thing. But yeah, honestly, for anyone just looking to have an outlet, I mean, it's just look locally. Google local centers that have LGBT resources in your area, whether it be a group thing or whether it just be an individual therapist, just get somebody who's willing to listen at that point. Because it is really hard to look these things up, and not all of them are accessible.
And I would put a plug in for both Children's Hospital and the Sidney Borum Health Center, both in Boston. both work with trans youth under the age of 18.
So Eileen, behind the scenes, has been working on a resource guide
Yes.
for our area. There's just no time in the day, I guess.
I have nothing to do.
Nothing else to do. But she's been, behind the scenes working on a resource guide, so we can have those outlets, so people can come to our groups.
And if you need information, feel free to reach out at the email, and I'll ask AJ to put it up again later, my email address, or give me a call, 774-775-2656. The resource guide is not out yet, but call me, let me know you need some info, or email me.
Together.
Yeah, and I can definitely help you find the resources that you need.
Yeah, okay. And we also have Facebook pages for the LGBTQ Voice, which you're seeing today on the Bedford Guide. We have, and again, the South Coast LGBTQ Network is the one who actually hosts this show. And Eileen, I'm just fortunate to be able to, give you guys the information. But yeah, you can find us, send us a message on our Facebook pages, and our email addresses that we gave earlier.
All right, so let's see. Hi, Hassan, how are you? And someone says Baldy, so Phil, do you know Phil? Phil
I don't know such a
Teeves?
thing.
Phil Teeves, Tevs, you can touch it.
I know, but every time I do something,
I don't know, maybe.
Phil T says Baldy. He must be talking to you.
I don't know.
Probably.
John's admirers on
Yeah.
here. So.
John's
Hi,
getting hit
Phil.
on.
All right, let's go to another social issue.
Yeah.
Let's go to bullying.
Yeah,
That's the big one.
we did that topic on our show, but if you haven't seen that show, please.
Okay, so bullying. So 30% of teens in the U.S. have been involved in bullying. That means either they were a bully or have been bullied. That does not compare at all to the statistics that Tracy's going to tell you about for the LGBTQ teens. But yeah,
It's 70% have been bullied at school because of their sexual orientation. 70%.
Yep.
That out of 10 kids, 7 have been. How's that? That easier?
7 have been.
Or 70 out of 100?
Yeah.
Kind of figure it that way. And we actually did the show on bullying. Yeah,
And I don't know if you have these statistics, but if you look at the number of LGBTQ youth who miss school,
yeah.
Oh,
either are absent or truant from school, again, overrepresented. And, obviously one of the reasons why they're missing school is that they don't feel safe being in school if they're being bullied, and so they avoid going.
So can you tell us, when we have the questions, there's a zero tolerance in Massachusetts. And then there's GSAs at our schools, which is the Gay Straight Youth Alliance, Gay Straight Alliance. There's Bagley's, and we are part of NB Agley, which is on New Bedford Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth. So there's a Facebook page for ages 14 to 24 for that. If you want to be an ally of NB Agley, we have a page for that too. It's NB Agley Allies of a Perfect Place. But the youth page is just for the kids to talk to each other. 14 to 24, they can kind of convince what's going on, how you're doing, kind of stuff. And some of our friends make friends from that, so.
Do you want to say more? When you say zero tolerance, you're talking about schools have zero tolerance for bullying?
For all kinds of stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Bullying in general. If you are harassed at your school, you should be telling your guidance counselor, it's supposed to be zero tolerance, and it's supposed to stop.
yeah.
And it hasn't been. Well, what do you find?
I think a lot of youth are reluctant to report bullying. They're reluctant because sometimes it means then having to be out to report bullying, or at least having to be perceived as being out.
Right.
So if you're a kid, if you're a male being called a fag in school, then the fear would be, will people then, and first of all, you're not gonna, the last people you're going to want to tell are your parents if you're not out.
Right.
That's what's happening at school. And so a lot of youth, a lot of LGBTQ youth don't report the bullying.
And one thing I don't have here is the schools, the definition of bullying, the state's definition of bullying. And I think we, at a different time, should look at what that definition is, because being called a name once isn't considered being bullied, but what constitutes bullying, and is that strict enough? And I think that's another topic for another day, but I think it's something we should look at.
Yep. So what do you ask?
But I would also reiterate, Tracy, what you said. It's really important to tell somebody.
Absolutely.
And tell somebody in the school. And if they don't do something to stop it, tell somebody else in the school, because it really is their responsibility to make sure that all youth feel safe in school.
Absolutely.
Sexual activity.
Sexual activity. So let's see. 41% of high school students report being sexually active, and attend, most students, high school students, attend sexual education classes. Is that what they call it now in school? I haven't been in school in a long time.
Sex ed?
Sex ed, they call it that.
Yeah.
Healthy relationships. So, yeah, so I'm curious how many classes you went to in high school that talked about safe sex for the LGBTQ community.
I actually did have a health class that briefly talked about, just gay sex, because there was one kid who like made a joke about it, and she was like, well, now that we're on the topic.
Now that you brought it up.
Right. That was like a one-day ordeal, but that's the only, that was my junior year of high school. That's the only health class I've ever had that.
And it wasn't part of the curriculum, it was
No, it was more of a, I'm going to jab back at you.
Okay.
So.
All right.
So I'm actually going to bring up the risk of HIV and AIDS, because our funding from NB-AGLE is to reduce HIV in our area. So 8 in 10 HIV diagnoses were among young gay and bisexual men. 44% of youth ages 18 to 24 living with HIV did not know they had HIV. And this, again, the last statistics we have was 2005 to 2014. There was an 87% increase in HIV diagnosis among Black and Latino, gay and bisexual men ages 13 to 24.
And I have one more. 11% of LGBTQ youth report that they have been sexually attacked or raped because of their actual or 77% report receiving unwanted sexual comments, jokes, and gestures in the past year. So,
I don't know if you had a thought.
Actually, I was going back to sexual activity,
Yep.
and a statistic that is really interesting, and I think is probably surprising for a lot of people, is that LGBTQ youth experience a greater percentage of teen pregnancy than straight youth. And so a lot of people sort of would say, well, why would that be? And so if you're a youth and you are either questioning your sexuality, or if you're a youth who is struggling with your sexuality, then it's not unusual to then become sexually active with a opposite sex partner, either to prove that you're straight.
Say I had a baby, I'm not gay, I'm not a lesbian.
Exactly. So it's interesting. And so in addition to HIV and STIs, LGBTQ youth need to be concerned about, aware of the potential for teen pregnancy.
What's STI, John?
Sexually transmitted infection.
Thank you. Just want to make sure people know what's going on out there. We know, but we just want to make sure those guys know. I know we only have about 7 minutes
want
left.
to do one more?
I wanted to kind of talk about maybe the, God help me, I'm probably going to cry. The statistics I had, and probably lost the page. We have suicide rates and homelessness.
All right, go for it.
Those two. I have my tissue, sorry guys. So I'm going to do suicide last, but homelessness. More than 1 in 4 gay teens are thrown out of their homes. 62% of LGBTQ attempted suicide. LGBTQ homeless youth are 7 times more likely than heterosexual peers to be victims of a crime. 54% of homeless LGBTQ youth say abuse in their family is a contributing factor to homelessness. So, yeah, we know we have some of our kids that are homeless, and we're continuing to work on that. And again, you guys can find the Street Sheet 2018 online. You can go to your local library, and it tells you where you can get food and meals. It has the numbers for Alateen. It has all kinds of crisis numbers. Again, I think most of the homeless kids can go online at the local library. I know I went to a library the other day. I didn't have a card. They give you one for the day card, like an access card. So I definitely wanted to talk about, do you want to say something about homelessness first?
I mean, it's clear why it's a problem, why it's an issue, and when you have a youth who is not supported by their family, by their parents, that is one of the reasons why youth fear being out or coming out. And, you know, this whole issue of do you come out, do you not come out, what we know is that it's healthier to be out. But I would never tell a youth that they should come out, because everybody's situation is different.
It's your story.
And, well, not only that, but I mean, if you're dependent on your parents, if you're living with your parents and you can't, if you don't have the financial resources to live on your own, and they are not accepting of you, then you could potentially be homeless. And so
we talk at our youth center plenty of times about have a backup plan. If you're gonna tell mom, dad, auntie, grandma, whoever you live with, and they say you're out, where are you gonna go? Try, again, have that backup plan, have that best buddy, say, listen, you know, can I talk to your mom? Can I stay here with you? Can I, you know, because so many of our youth couch surf. You know, we have donations at our youth center, we have clothing, we have toothpaste, we have odds and ends. So when the kids come in on our Thursday night groups, or even hopefully not the 8 to 13 group, but even Pride Cafe now, we have condoms, you know, we have bleach kits. There's so many things that we provide at our South Coast LGBTQ Community Center now. Maybe one day we'll be able to open, you know, regular day hours, things like that, once we free Eileen up to do some more stuff, right, Eileen?
I want to give out,
Yeah.
we talked about some really tough stuff. So I want to give out the number for crisis, which is New Bedford Crisis Center, 508-996-3154. Child and Family Service Crisis Center is 508-996-8572. And there's also the Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is 1-866-508-4357. So if you need support, reach out to one of those centers or hotlines and make sure you talk to someone and get the support you need.
I do want to make sure we end on somewhat of a positive note with this.
Me too, and that's why I wanted to get that off the table.
Okay.
So you have something positive?
So something positive about all of this. Dr. Caitlin Ryan, and she is the director of the Family Acceptance Project. She's a professor at San Francisco State University. You can Google her and look at her research. It's Caitlin, C-A-I-T-L-I-N, Ryan, R-Y-A-N. She's probably one of the foremost national experts on LGBTQ youth. She has done a longitudinal study, and what a longitudinal study, it's a mouthful, but what it is it's looking at individuals over the course of time. So she has looked at LGBTQ youth after a year, after 5 years, after 15 years, after 20 years, and looking at what has been helpful for them and what has not been helpful for them. And the one piece of research that she has clearly identified is that there is one factor that basically negates all of the negative statistics that we've been talking about. And that is acceptance. And it's ideally acceptance by family, but it doesn't necessarily have to be acceptance by family. It's acceptance by one person who's important to that youth in their life. And that could be a therapist, it could be a teacher, it could be an adult advisor to NV Agley. But as long as they have one individual that accepts them, then what that does is all these negative statistics virtually go away. And so then you're looking at youth who are not any greater risk for depression, anxiety, all of these bad things that we're talking about. And so they're at no greater risk than their straight counterparts. And so the good news is that if you are a parent of an LGBTQ child, that the one thing you can do for them to make their lives better is accept them and just totally accept who they are. And so I really want to stress that. Or if you're an adult out there who knows of LGBTQ youth, you can accept them, and that will be immeasurable in terms of how it helps them.
Cool. So I just want to go over the suicide rates real quick. I know, so 3 times as likely LGBTQ to consider suicide as straight youth, 4.5 more likely to attempt suicide, 2 times as likely to feel sad or hopeless every day for 2 or more weeks in a row, 4.5 more times likely to make a suicide attempt resulting in injury, poisoning, or overdose. And we also talk at our youth center about cutting. When we talk about prevention, do you want to just talk about some of the things that we talk about at our center?
I just want to first
Please.
add one statistic that I have
Definitely.
specific to trans individuals.
Yep.
40% of trans people have attempted suicide at one point in their lives, 34% of them prior to age 13.
Yeah.
And so anybody who's working with youth,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really important to keep in
And
mind.
that's why we started the 8 to 13 group. I mean, it's amazing that, you know, we wish we could have, because our NBAA funding is separate. We can only do 14 to 24. So everything else that you see behind the scenes is done by the network. So I want to, even though we all wear different hats, but tonight we're hosting the show and producing, you know, we all do different things behind the scenes.
I just want to say about the 8 to 13-year-old group. That group is not, let's sit in a circle and let's talk about what's horrible.
Kumbaya.
No, or what's good. It's about getting a bunch of kids, 8 to 13-year-olds, together in a safe environment to play a game, to do an activity, to do a craft, and we talk about what happened today and what was good. And the kids lead the conversation. The kids lead the activity. I don't want people to think that we're sitting there and it's a therapy session, a group therapy session. That is not what it's about. It's about getting kids together and have the opportunity to feel safe with other kids that may be like them, and for parents to come together who may be struggling with acceptance or where to get resources and to get that information. That's what the group's about. So if you have an 8 to 13-year-old who is questioning gender identity, sexual orientation, or you're a parent who just wants to be prepared and know, come to the center Wednesday, 6:30, 7:30. I'll be there, and we'll talk in.
We did say 8
socialize.
to 13 originally, I'm sorry, John. But again, if somebody has a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 3, bring them with the parent. Don't drop the kid off and run. We keep saying that, Eric. Go ahead, John.
I just want to clarify and make sure that I'm correct on this. That group is for both youth and parents together.
Correct.
Yes.
So
yes.
It's not a
that you're
daycare.
meeting with the youth and the
Yeah,
parents.
so what happens is the kids come over here and they leave their parents over there, and then
In the same room.
In the same room.
Well, you do, it's
a
only
big
one
o-
room.
It's a big open room.
You've been there.
Well, not everybody
Other
knows
people
that there's
don't
only
know
one room. So
Yeah.
I just want
So
to make sure
there's
that
one room.
the people listening
Yeah,
know.
and we have a basketball in there, the
Yeah,
kids can
so
play,
the
game
kids
room.
and parents
Oh, yeah.
are, the kids are supervised by their parents or mentor or whoever brings them, an adult, at all times. I am not supervising or babysitting.
Yeah.
I'm
Don't drop and run.
facilitating play, that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing, so.
Yeah. Anything else? So I just want to kind of talk about what's going on this week.
Yeah, let's talk about some fun stuff.
Yeah.
What's happening?
So next week's show is fun stuff, Eileen.
That's right.
Oh, my God.
Fun stuff in the community, so.
Yeah, we're going to change it up. We're going to let everybody know what's going on in the community, LGBTQ or not LGBTQ. We know we have the Barnstable County Fair going on now. We have the feast coming up in August. But right now, this weekend, the 4th annual Big Gay Beach Party at Horseneck Beach. You can find that on Facebook. I don't know, John's like, really?
Big gay
Gay
beach
beach
party?
party.
4th annual Big
First
Gay
time I
Beach
heard of
Party.
it.
I never heard of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's Saturday, and there's a concert on the green at UMass Dartmouth, so that's not LGBTQ, so we kind of put that out there. And Sunday, I love promoting drag in our community. So Sunday, Savannah Devereaux, this is for you. Christmas in July, 12 drags of Christmas at the VFW. So again, you can find that on Facebook as well. So yeah, that's what's going on this weekend in our community that we kind of posted up. Any other?
Hi, Tanya. Tanya Aguirre. Hi, thanks for watching.
Do you guys want to end with anything?
Anything you want to say?
Not really, I don't know what to say.
You're like, all right, that's it. John?
I'm good too.
Eileen?
I'm good, and yeah, next week will be a fun show.
Yeah, just to kind of change it up. We've done some, you know, heavy shows, so I think just kind of livening up for a fun one. And behind the scenes, Eileen and I have been working on, we're trying to get some politicians to come up. We have a show on the trans bill coming up. So I know we have some organizations coming in to talk about that. So again, hit Eileen up, or myself, Tracy at sclgbtqnetwork.org, or Eileen at sclgbtqnetwork.org. And that's it. See you next
Night.
week. Take care.